You're listening to the Better Relationships After Baby podcast, where I believe your relationship can be stronger than ever after having a baby. It just takes tools, conversation, and support to help you get there. I'm Chelsea Skaggs, certified life and relationship coach, mom of two, and survivor and thriver of tough relationship challenges after babies. I'm committed to helping couples just like you improve your communication skills, connection points, and personal confidence so that you can have the life and family you've always dreamt of. Now, let's get to today's episode. Welcome back, friends, to Better Relationships After Baby. Whether you have recently had a baby, whether you are preparing to have a baby, or whether you are 5, 6, 10 years after having a baby, I know that today's topic is going to apply to you. It's going to give you some aha moments and be relevant probably to something you've gone through this week. Have you ever found yourself wanting to have a serious conversation with your spouse, your partner, but the moment you start, you feel flustered and the words come out all wrong? Ugh, you're not alone, okay? First and foremost, you are not alone. This episode is actually inspired by a comment I received recently. When people sign up to learn more about coaching, I always ask what they want to see different in their lives. What would make their life and relationship 5% better? And I received an inquiry where someone said that they wanted to be able to communicate with their partner, not feeling so flustered. And I get that. I've been there. There have been moments where I used to feel like it was a train wreck in my brain, and I couldn't figure out what was urgent and what was important and what was irrelevant. And I couldn't quite get through the emotions, the heightened emotions I felt. And it felt so accentuated by the chaos and the schedule and the lack of sleep and lack of time to communicate. And so what happens typically when we are flustered in that way is that we don't get to the root of the issue. We don't get to resolution. We don't get to explain ourselves in a way that we want to. And then that causes, the secondary or the follow-up emotions of being then frustrated or maybe embarrassed or feeling like we kind of lost our shot. And that is just not a great feeling. So this is a common experience, and that's why today we're exploring more about why this happens and how we can change it. In the heat of the moment, and just pause, I want you to think about a recent time that has just felt like the heat of the moment. You know what I'm talking about. You can feel it in your body. You can visualize where it has happened recently. You can kind of feel the tension probably in your throat and your stomach of being in the heat of the moment and things feeling flustered. When this happens, emotions are high, and it's challenging to speak clearly. And then when we're upset or stressed, our brains, bless them, but our brains are perceiving the situation as a threat. So then we go into this fight or flight response, making it harder to think rationally, making it more difficult to articulate our thoughts. And this emotional arousal can significantly impair our ability to even process information and communicate effectively. Okay. So then what normally happens is you say something from a flustered state. You're frustrated with yourself. Your partner isn't able to really understand what you're trying to say. They may become frustrated or lose interest. It feels hopeless, and then you either maybe shut down or escalate to anger. Does this sound familiar? it can be such a frustrating pattern. As parents with constantly chaotic schedules and pressing needs, it can feel even more like there isn't enough time, space, or energy to address these things. And so we're like, well, I've just got to shoot my shot. I've just got to get it out there when I can, which is usually when things feel pressing or directly in your line of sight. And I'm going to give you a few tips today about how to establish kind of a filter for yourself of when things are truly urgent or pressing. We're going to talk about how to create a little space so that you can have more effective conversations and communication. That scarcity of like, there's not enough time, there's not enough space, we've just got to figure it out right now. That scarcity feeling can lead us to not being efficient. And it can be tempting to think that being efficient is going to take more time, or to think there's not time to do this right, to do this well, to approach this conversation when I'm in a better place. But what happens is if we don't have a good, efficient conversation, then not only are we spending the time trying to have the conversation when our brains, our energy isn't good, but then we're probably going to reel on it afterwards. We're going to think about the things that we said, or the ways maybe we misspoke or didn't get our point across. And you're probably going to have the conversation again, maybe many times again, if there's not resolution and clarity and this kind of efficiency in the conversation. So I want to challenge you to step out of the scarcity. I know that there's not a lot of time and energy and space. I see you. I know. I also know that it is just infuriating to the brain to try to get through things at a time when it's not going to be effective, and to have to return to the same conversation over and over again. If you are having the same arguments, the same conversation over and over again without resolution, something has to change. This is something I do with my clients. I help them understand what's happening, where the root of the problem is, and how to get out of this pattern to actually address it. And I'm going to share some of those things with you today. And I also invite you to explore coaching with me if this is something that you're going through, because investing the time and energy and resources in doing this right, think about how many times that will pay off when a conversation comes up, when an argument starts to happen. If you know how to do this well, you're going to eventually tenfold, 100-fold save the time and energy and resources that you'd put into doing it right. So let's talk a little bit more about that. First of all, it is important to differentiate between things that are urgent for safety and things that feel pressing but can honestly wait. When everything feels like an emergency, our stress levels spike. This makes it way more difficult to communicate calmly, clearly, and effectively. Stress triggers the release of hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which prepare our bodies to either fight or flee. While this response is helpful in truly dangerous situations, like if you're being chased by a lion, it can be detrimental during a conversation with your spouse. So imagine you're in a conversation. Let's say it's about the household chores. Okay. I think many of us probably have this conversation multiple times a week. It might feel urgent to address immediately, especially if you're frustrated. But unless there's a safety issue like a toxic spill that needs immediate cleaning, it can likely wait. And I don't mean wait forever. I don't mean wait until the kids are grown and flown. I just mean we got to give it a place to go and not in the heat of the moment. By recognizing this, you can reduce your stress response, which is great for your relationship. It's also great for your body. Like, give yourself some time to chill. Teach your body and yourself how to relax. When cortisol levels are high, this impairs our prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain responsible for decision making and self control. It makes us more likely to react impulsively and less likely to engage in productive dialogue. So, if the goal here is productive dialogue, things have to change. And it can take support, it can take practice, but establishing this, especially if you plan to be with your partner for many years ahead, is going to be really important. And honestly, even if you don't plan to be with your partner for the rest of your life, you're going to be communicating, you're going to be working together. No matter what is happening in your future, establishing this communication and these patterns is so important. So, to manage this, try first to identify the nature of the issue at hand. This first filter for yourself is this something that needs immediate attention, or can it wait until we're both calmer? Like, create that filter in your brain when you're starting to feel those emotions rise up. Practicing this differentiation will help you approach conversations with a clearer mind and just like a steadier heart, a more rooted, grounded place. But we don't just want it to float out into the ether, right? Like, I know the power that these thoughts can have if they're not being addressed. We don't just want to pretend that we can cast them off into the ether and never think about them again. We need to give them a place to live. If you've listened to this podcast, if you follow my content, you have heard me talk about having regular check ins and establishing a routine of this. It is one of the most effective strategies for reducing flustered feelings, these regular check ins with your partner. And not only learning when to have these and when it can fit in your schedule and routine, but also how to do that. Okay. You don't walk into a new job and know exactly how to best have project meetings with your team. You learn how to do that. And this is the same with your partner. This gives you both a structured time to discuss needs, issues, concerns, and reduce the pressure to address everything in the moment. Couples who have regular check ins in numerous studies report higher relationship satisfaction and better conflict resolution skills. This is why this is one of the number one things I walk my clients through learning when and how to do based on their needs and their styles. Having these regular check ins gives your thoughts and concerns a place to live. If you are someone who is prone to anxiety or to keeping all of the mental tabs open in your brain, this is especially vital for you. Think of it like a mental filing cabinet. I don't picture a big metal old school filing cabinet. I like mine in like very neatly organized Tupperware bins. Some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller, but you can see through them, you know what they are, and you're able to access them when you need to. When you know there's a set time to discuss important matters, you can mentally put those topics in your Tupperware container, in your brain, and let go of the anxiety of holding on to them until the right moment. Like, we can get like, oh, I want to make sure we address this. I want to make sure we address this. I can't let this go. I can't let this go. And that can be consuming. And then your brain doesn't have space and energy to do the other things. And that's going to escalate the frustration and the fluster that you feel. So I want you to be able to reduce your day-to-day stress and feel more organized and in control. And that is what this file it away, but specifically having a time to take it back out and address it. So, for example, if you and your partner have a weekly check in every Sunday evening, this tends to be a good time for a lot of my clients as a new week starts. You can write down or keep a shared note file in your phone or put it on a whiteboard somewhere in your office or your home. Put down these non-urgent issues that arise during the week and bring them up during your check-in. This is just the process you get to establish. This practice helps to prevent small issues from snowballing into major conflicts because you are creating a regular opportunity to address them. Again, this is up to you. If you want things to get better, if you want to mindfully and intentionally and collaboratively address things, you get to establish this routine. You get to prioritize this. This also ensures that both partners have a voice and a chance to be heard, which is very important, and fosters this deeper sense of connection and understanding. In my work with new parents and even seasoned parents, we're always emphasizing the importance of giving things a place to live, whether that's the household chores, addressing all the needs at school, talking about relationship concerns. Having this designated time and place to tackle these issues can alleviate a lot of the mental burden. Now, I hope you don't mishear me when I say this, but I believe specifically women and specifically mothers carry a lot of the mental load of parenting most of the time. This is how our society has been set up. I have episodes on this specific topic, and this is something else I'm constantly working with my couples on, is how to more evenly distribute the mental load. But I want to make a gentle call out that if you are trying to keep these tabs open in your brain and carry them, you are creating a heavier mental burden for yourself. You are making the mental load more complicated than it has to be. It's a form of mental housekeeping by having a place for it to live, establishing these routines, prioritizing tasks. This is not just, fluff. This is saying you are exhausted, your mental load is high, but I'm passing this ball to your court to say here are some ways to keep your mind less cluttered and allow you to be more present and engaged in your daily life. We are not going to completely eradicate the uneven mental load, but do not make the mental load even heavier on yourself by not establishing some of these patterns and routines and filters for yourself that can be helpful and I can help you do if that's not coming naturally to you, because it doesn't come naturally to a lot of us. That's why my coaching exists. Now, another piece of this puzzle is your personality and communication tendencies. Understanding your own and your partner's personality and communication tendencies is incredibly helpful. For example, some people need time to process their thoughts before they can discuss them. These are our internal processors, while others prefer to talk things out immediately. Those are my external processors. Recognizing and respecting these differences, and again, learning how to do that. If you feel confident DIYing that process, great. If you need coaching support, great. This is another thing I work with people on a lot, is figuring out how an internal and external processor can work together to have both of their needs met. These personality traits play a significant role in how we communicate. So we'll use a common example here, which is the Myers-Briggs. The Myers-Briggs Type Indicator is the full name. There are 16 different personality types, each with unique ways of perceiving and interacting with the world. So the reality is that you and your partner may be very close. You may understand a lot about each other, but no matter what, and no matter who you're married to or who you're partnered with, you are two different people and you see and experience the world in different ways. And this is one of the most fascinating and also the most infuriating parts of choosing a long-term monogamous relationship is that you are never going to be the same person, but also you get to continually learn about yourself and your tendencies and your mindsets and your partner's tendencies and mindsets and learn how to master teamwork. Okay? The Enneagram is another one of my favorites. It's a popular personality framework that identifies 9 personality types, each based on their own sets of motivations and fears. So, a quick example, type 1s are known as the perfectionists, and they value order and structure, and they may become anxious. They do become anxious when things feel chaotic. In contrast, a type 7, known as the enthusiast, seeks variety and spontaneity, and they may struggle with routine and predictability. Knowing these things about yourself and your partner provides that insight into how you communicate, why you communicate, and how to navigate conversations more effectively. I want to leave you with a couple of things to help right now, right where you are, so that you can enjoy better conversation and even better conflict if that is what is true for you. And then again, I want to invite you that if you've tried some of these things and it's not going well DIYing it, or if you want to be efficient and cut to the chase and not let this take 5 years to really get good at, let's explore coaching together. But let's start here with a couple of tips. One is so cliche, I know, but I have to say it. Pause and breathe. When you start to feel flustered, take a moment to pause and breathe. This is what you will teach your child. This is what you probably do teach your child. Let's take your own advice here. Deep breathing has actual benefits, right? Like it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is what calms that fight or flight response. This simple practice of taking a breather can help you regain composure and think more clearly. It's totally okay to say to your partner, I need a few minutes to breathe and get clarity. And even again, if that feels like a threat to time, if you feel like time is scarce, the reality is you will be more efficient and save time in your conversation by having a calmer, clearer mind. Second is using those I statements instead of accusations. This can change so many things for you. Using I statements, for example, instead of you never listen to me, try saying, I feel unheard when I don't get a chance to share my thoughts. Or you never do the dishes. I feel like I am the only one who notices the dishes. And when we get behind on them, it creates a whole trickle of things that are hard. You know, maybe the baby bottles don't get washed and then we have to do that in real time. Or maybe the kids don't have the storage containers they need for lunch the next day. Like, okay. This approach reduces defensiveness, which is a huge goal to reduce defensiveness and open up constructive dialogue. And I've already talked about this, but I have to say it again. Set time for conversations, especially if you know a topic is sensitive or complex. Set a specific time to discuss it when both of you are calm and can give it your full attention. This might be your weekly check-in, or if it's, a special circumstance, maybe you put a time on your calendar for 15 minutes at 6:00 tonight. We're going to discuss this. While the baby is sleeping or while the kids are having their after school screen time before dinner, we're going to take 15 minutes to discuss blank. Set a time. And it's also okay to say, we only have 10 or 15 minutes to discuss this. You keep practicing and getting outside support if needed on how to do those things efficiently and well. This allows you to both mentally prepare and approach the conversation with a clear and confident mind. And if you haven't done so recently, maybe even if you have, spend some time learning about your own and your partner's personality and communication styles. Take a personality assessment like the Enneagram together and discuss the results. Again, these don't need to be the forever defining thing about you. And some things may not seem especially true, and some things may be spot on, and you're like, wow, I cannot believe that. But use these things as tools. That's what they are. They're tools. Understanding your partner's preferred way of communicating can help you tailor your approach to better suit their needs. For example, if your partner is an introvert and you're not, we learn how to give them time to process their thoughts before pressing them and pushing in to get them to respond on a complex issue. If they're an extrovert, then maybe you know to approach this with a more dynamic and immediate conversation. If you're the introvert, then maybe you're taking the time to think through these things and know what you want to say so that when your extrovert partner is responding, it doesn't feel so overwhelming. Recognizing and respecting these differences will lead to more productive and cohesive conversations. And this is always evolving. You're not going to master your personality and your communication style or your partner's personality or communication style because we are continually changing, growing humans. Again, if we are choosing to be in monogamous long-term relationships, we are kind of in this experiment, I feel like sometimes, of continually learning and growing ourselves and our partner. I don't think we ever get to a point where we fully 100% master this because we are constantly changing. Our partners are constantly changing. Our circumstances are constantly changing. So we're on a constant, consistent journey of learning ourselves and our partner. But a big part of this is getting a foundation on how to do that. Listen, it is normal to feel flustered when emotions are high, but recognizing the difference between urgent and pressing issues, establishing regular check ins, and understanding each other's communication styles will make a big difference. Remember to pause and breathe, use those I statements, and set specific times for important conversations. I hope these insights and tips help you to navigate your next important conversation with more confidence and clarity. And again, if you want to do this effectively, well, quickly, to have a better understanding of how you and your partner together and how you can establish routines and mindsets that are going to support your growth together, that is what my coaching is here for. And I would be honored to help you dig into these things and really get better and stronger at your teamwork together so that you can have hard conversations, so that you can model this for your kids, so that you can grow as an individual and as the team and partner unit that you are. I am rooting for you. I am rooting for our entire society to get better at having hard conversations, at respecting one another, and having some kick ass teamwork. Okay, this is where the change starts. We're in an exciting time of thinking about change and growth in our communities and in our society. And I truly believe that for everyone, that starts by having strong, respectful, effective teamwork in our partnerships in our homes. And I'm here to help you do that. If you enjoyed this episode, I would be so grateful if you take a minute to help spread the word. As a small business owner, shares and reviews go a long way. So share this episode with a friend, share it on your social media, and please leave a review if you haven't done so.
This helps these messages get to more mamas. And you guys, that's how we change the world.